then we'll. Okay.
So is Miranda definitely out?
Yeah. We're three. We're doing a three-way. We're doing a threesome today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was it? But I'm not going to be the top. I'm just telling you. No. No. It doesn't. It definitely does not work that way. It definitely. Um, by the way, do I sound better or worse now?
Better or worse? Like
Yeah.
Then what?
recovering from your cold, or
No. I just changed my microphone setting. I wanted to make sure it didn't.
Oh,
I mean, you sound clear.
Okay. Well, good. Then I have achieved the desired result. So I've achieved the desired result.
how do I sound, by the way?
You sound very nice, Brandon.
Oh, thanks.
You sound like yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not sure I like that.
Really? I mean, you're sure about that? Okay. All right. Well, we'll just go right into it. So, today's topic is the Fawn protocol, which is really just, glittery literature dust for people pleasing. And so, as a trans person, a major issue that I run into is I'll just go right into a factual element of people pleasing. I let people slide when they misgender me. When people say he, him, sir, man, I don't always react to it. And there's mental gymnastics that go with hearing the wrong name or the pronouns and deciding in milliseconds whether I should correct, how I should correct this person, if correction will even make it better or worse, whether this person is even worth the energy, and even further still, if I can handle their defensive, I'm trying to conform to your stupid world dynamic. And there's a psychological cost of, having to, I hate using this term, but having to swallow that every time. The way that it trains your nervous system to treat your identity as negotiable. That's not. My identity as a trans woman is not negotiable. It never will be. We should investigate how that pattern affects everything from medical appointments to family gatherings to casual interactions, and why that exhaustion isn't just sensitive. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And that is an act, honestly, at this point, of political warfare, because it is. So how do you deal with that? You recognize the fawning patterns, the automatically, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it mentality. And then create boundaries, and you build capacity to correct without apologizing, and so forth and so forth. So, not necessarily having to speak to that specific experience, Sarah. Your turn.
Oh, I mean, I have been misgendered, but that happened more when I was like working retail years ago. Like we're talking more than 20 years ago. And honestly, my reaction to that was more amusement, because it was usually fathers in the store with their children, and the children knew. The children, like, there's something about kids, they just know. But my reaction to it was to change the pitch of my voice when I would react, when I would respond. And I mean, it was effective. I didn't actually have to have a conversation, but it corrected where I didn't necessarily have the want to have the conversation. It still made the correction. It put the correction out there. But personally, I was more amused by it just because I didn't personally have a vested interest in how I was publicly perceived. It didn't matter to me one way or the other. Yeah, it's hard to narrow down the idea of people pleasing to one specific thing.
Well, before we let Brandon necessarily answer that question, let me just sort of give Brandon some space to work with. Because while in my case, and even maybe in your case, is different, for Brandon, there's the different paradigm involved. And so when you're 23 years old and you're sitting across from your mother at brunch and she's explaining again why she can't just understand your lifestyle choices, you know, and the boyfriend or girlfriend or person friend or spousal friend messaged you like an hour ago, where the fuck are you? And, you know, your answer is, I'm still trying to re-educate my parent. I'm still attempting to please my parent. You know, so, you know, and then later your spouse, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever asked why you didn't stand up for yourself. And, you know, why didn't you? Okay, Brandon, go.
Well, I have actually been misgendered before.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I was
I didn't want to assume.
Huh? Oh, yeah. I mean, it hasn't happened very often, but when I was younger, I could have been mistaken for a girl sometimes, like just the way I looked and the way my hair was. It was a little longer, but not like, you know, I basically sometimes I would look like a young lesbian girl, I guess, in a way. You know?
Wow.
But also, when it happened, this old middle-aged guy, I think at the time, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I mean, the reference he made was indicating that I was a girl, and I was on my bike, which was purple and had streamers on the handlebars. So, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, he wasn't, you know, I don't blame him for it, but I didn't say anything. I didn't correct him or anything like that, because I think mainly because I would have felt more embarrassed having to correct him and tell him, no, I'm a boy. And also it would have made him embarrassed. And I think that was where kind of the people pleasing comes in. Like, I was concerned more about his feeling and kind of I don't know, preserving his dignity, I guess, in a way. And he was almost a complete stranger. I mean, I knew of him kind of, and it was a friend of my dad's, but he wasn't a good friend. We didn't see him a lot or anything like that. So, but anyway, but yeah, I was more concerned with his feelings than standing up for myself and you know what I mean, protecting myself in a way. And it's also happened on the phone. It used to happen a lot more when I was younger. When I would answer the phone, people would sometimes mistake me for my mom or just for a female in general if it was somebody that didn't was a stranger or whatever. And I wouldn't correct them. I mean, well, if they mistook me for my mom, of course I would say no. No, this is Brandon. Or no, this is Brandon.
This is Brandon.
Yeah. But it happened not too long ago actually on the phone with like a telemarketer type of or a bank or something. I can't remember what it was, but somebody that was a stranger, and I guess maybe my voice was a little higher that day. I don't know, or that time of day or something, but I didn't correct her, but as the conversation went on, there were questions and stuff, and I had to indicate that I was a male for some. I don't remember I can't remember what the situation was, but whatever. And she didn't say anything. She didn't, go back and apologize or anything. I think she just kind of hoped that I didn't realize that she said ma'am or something like that, It's like she just kind of glossed over it, just went on and pretended, because I think probably she would have felt embarrassed, and there was no reason for me to point it out to her. I didn't think. It was an honest mistake in that case. Now, in your case, Wendy, I know most of the time that you experience it, it's someone that knows better, so that's a big difference. I can easily ignore it because I know the person isn't doing that intentionally. They just heard the sound of my voice and just assumed. But so that's there's a difference there. But
well, people pleasing does things to the relationships that you have in your life. The fawn response doesn't just affect relationships with people who are actively trying to harm us. It metastasizes into every connection that we build. With your birth family. I mean, you're however old and you're still performing straight adjacent versions of yourself during the holidays. Your partner's name becomes my friend or just disappears from the conversation entirely. You laugh at a family member who makes humor around why do people give a shit about pronouns? Because starting a fight over it won't do any good. And you feel like it's not worth it. The problem is, it is worth it. I mean, you just get so practiced at calculating that, my comfort level, or your comfort level is worth less than their convenience that you don't even notice when you're doing the math. So With chosen family, it's even worse. You bring the same hypervigilance into relationships that you believe should be safe. Or if you're at work, the straight coworker might makes another "my wife" reference, and you swallow, your husband or your wife, um, comments rather than just saying them. Not because you're closeted. I mean, you're out to everybody, but you do that because you've learned that every mention of the fact that you're queer is an invitation for someone to have opinions, and maybe you don't want to put up with that. Or going on a date. First dates become auditions where you're trying to figure out what version of queer they can handle. Too femme, too masked, too out, too political. I mean, you're shape shifting from one to the next to try to satisfy a requirement because you're attracted to that person and you want to have a relationship with that person. So you perform neutral. You're not along when they complain about one thing or another. And the cruelest part of that is, we do this because that's what we learned to do through years of rejection and violence and the threat of both rejection and violence, that our unmodulated existence costs us those relationships. We sand down our edges and we perform palatability and then wonder why we feel so fucking lonely, when we're surrounded by people. We don't get it. Sarah?
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm realizing I kind of have a slightly different approach, because I'll perform people pleasing for people that I'm close to, that like my biological family. But when it comes to strangers, general public, I will intentionally make them uncomfortable. There's times where I feel like I live to make people uncomfortable. But yeah, the performing neutrality and trying to figure out what version of self is palatable. That's hard. I mean, my people pleasing is mainly revolving around like the presence or lack of presence of boundaries I have with my family and their requests on my time. So a big one is, for my sister. More often than not, I'm running out there every weekend to help her with childcare, or sometimes during the middle of the week. And it's only recently that she's gotten to the point where she's like, oh, I should probably compensate you for your time. Which, it helps, but I still only have a finite amount of time every day. And it's hard for me to tell her no because she doesn't have anybody else to turn to for that stuff. Her ex is problematic, even though, court ordered he's being brought back into the picture.
Problematic is putting it very mildly, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. And it's not like our mother can go out there and take care of my nephew because he's 6 and he's hyperactive and he's a lot for me. And my mother is 74. She's not going to be able to handle all that. So I just deal with it. Although I had to put my foot down with her today because she called me minutes before I came on here, I'm like, hey, I need to let you go. I've got stuff going on.
Brandon.
My people pleasing is most of it has been for my mother and the use of guilt trips really exacerbated that, you know, when you're made to feel guilty, you don't like that feeling. You don't like feeling guilty, and so you want to alleviate that. So you do whatever to alleviate that guilt and make the other person feel better. And in my case, I knew that if I were to have come out, my family wouldn't have accepted that or like that. And besides the fact that they would look at me negatively, they would also feel hurt. And I wouldn't want to do that. So that was a big reason for staying in the closet for a long time. And I think recognizing the tactics of guilting, shaming, those kinds of things, and accepting myself, I realized that I can't keep pleasing everyone else at the cost of my own happiness, peace. So I'm sure I still I perform a lot of things due to people pleasing still today. I feel obligated to do certain things, to go spend time with my family and things like that. And it's not that I necessarily resent it all the time, because I do want to spend time with them. I want to be around my family at Christmas and Thanksgiving, things like that, But if I were to be invited somewhere else or have some other event or obligation or not obligation, but event or invitation that I want to attend, or that I want somebody else I want to spend time with, I would definitely feel an obligation for family over other things, just because that's, I think, kind of ingrained.
Yeah, there's a thing that people pleasing teaches us. So, from my perspective, here's what I've learned: that response isn't just an individual trauma response. It's a political tool of oppression. Systems don't have to actively destroy us when we're already destroying ourselves trying to fit in. So not some queers are people pleasers, not trauma makes you accommodate, not you need to have better boundaries. We live in a world that actively punishes queer and trans existence, and then offers us a deal. If you act normal, it's okay. It's acceptable enough, unthreatening enough. Maybe we'll even let you live if you just behave normally.
Don't put it in our faces.
Yeah. And the fawn response is what happens when we accept that deal without realizing that we're negotiating away our own souls, even. As a trans person, the calculation of how visible to be. Does passing privilege equal safety, or just a different kind of erasure? The exhaustion of performing my gender correctly enough just to validate someone else's concept of my existence. If you're a gay person or a lesbian, the decision to code switch your speech, your gestures, your cultural references, depending on whether straight people are watching you or not. The shame when you catch yourself doing it. For, non-binary and gender non-conforming people, the pressure to pick a side, perform binary enough to be comprehensible, exist in ways that don't make cisgender people confront you or it feel abnormal. But for all of us, the exhaustion of being grateful for basic respect that we should just get anyway. But what does deliberateness look like when you've spent decades learning that for years you need to just shut up, stay alive? That's my question.
My initial reaction is probably more aggressive than it should be.
Why?
Because I'm at a point in my life where I'm like tearing down all of the things that I've learned, and I'm destroying everything intentionally, it seems like.
I mean, I don't know, sir. It seems like you need to find that thing and you need to pound the shit out of it.
What Brandon was talking about with the like people pleasing for family and the guilt trips and stuff like that. My mom is absolutely somebody who will do the guilt trips, and I actually had to sit down and have a conversation with her about it. Like you every time you want to try to influence me to do something or decide something a certain way, you end up saying things that make me feel bad about not doing whatever it is. And so after having that conversation, she is getting better. But for Christmas, she keeps asking, like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what I'm invited to participate in, and stuff like that. But this Christmas, I'm actually doing something a little different. I was invited by a coworker to spend Christmas at what he calls his orphan's Christmas, where he holds a Christmas party. It's an all-day thing. It's tons of food, movies, music, and just a ton of queer people just hanging out because they've got no place else to be. It's Hi, Eileen.
Hi, you guys. Sorry to come in while you were talking. I was listening.
But
We're mid speech. Let Sarah finish it up.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm doing instead of participating in any kind of family stuff on Christmas Day. And like I had to tell her, all right, so on Christmas Eve, I'm supposed to take my child to my mother-in-law's house. And on Christmas Day, I'm supposed to go to Kyle's house. I said, I don't think you want to go to Diane's, but if you want to, you can come with us. Kyle didn't invite you. And then New Year's and whatever else, we're spending out at my sister's. So that's what she's invited to that. So she's going out to my sister's on Christmas Day.
So we're talking about Fawn protocol, Eileen, which is people pleasing.
Oh, like Clarice on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. She's never mind. I sh- she's the perfect little reindeer.
There's a perfect reindeer on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, when Rudolph says she thinks I'm cute and then he flies, because he's so excited. And she has the
Oh,
long eyelashes and
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I can, because he covers his nose with the black stuff,
rubber
so
thing,
it
yeah.
doesn't grow.
coal. I believe it's coal he's using.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Somebody can correct me if that's not.
Rudolph's gonna get black lung.
Rudolph, I don't know. I mean, it's all claymation, so it just I mean, I don't know
Nope.
what the
Nope.
Oh.
It is not claymation. It is stop motion puppetry.
Stop motion puppetry. Yeah, you're right, because the
Yeah.
claymation is that other guy with the cheese, the whatever that other that's Gromit.
Chicken,
Wallace
Run,
and Gromit.
Chicken Run is claymation. Wallace and Gromit is
Wallace and Gromit.
claymation.
Yeah,
Wallace and
claymation.
Gromit.
Yeah, you're right. Stop motion animation. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like I just came in like a wrecking ball. So fawning. I'd never heard that term.
You okay
People,
over
please.
there, Sarah? You look frazzled.
I've got text messages from Jenny.
Oh, okay.
It's tough, like you were saying this time of year, whose house do you go to on this day and who's celebrating at whose house and who's yeah. That's rough.
I might be having regrets about going to my in-laws. Or I might set that house on fire too. Who knows? Not literally.
Are you going to your in-laws?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Why
Oh.
would you? Why would you make this choice?
Because my child says that they would like to go.
Okay.
Is there a way for your child to go without you
Only
having to
if
go?
they ride with their father.
Oh,
And they are not as... They're probably just a little bit more comfortable being there than I am. But the fact of the matter is it's a smoking household and we're all sensitive to tobacco smoke.
That sounds like nightmare
sounds
sauce.
like awful.
Yeah. Why would you actively put yourself in that position?
Like my dad always said to me, like after the divorce, like oh, I would just all the things would surface about my ex-mother-in-law, and like why didn't I see this sign and why didn't I see this sign of her just telling me to put up and shut up and put up or whatever all those years. And blood's thicker than water. Of course she's going to take her son's side. And then after the divorce, I'm just like, they're like, "Oh, how's so and so?" Asking about my ex-mother-in-law, and I'd be like, "Huh? What? I don't know. Why don't you call him? I don't. Why do I care? You know what I mean?" And it was like my dad would be like, "Oh, well, you have to maintain a relationship because she's children's grandmother, and you have to remain civil." And I'm like,
I'm sorry, my child is grown and has their own cell phone, and if they want to communicate, they can.
yeah.
But it was expressed that they want to go. So,
See, Brandon, you haven't had to do any of this.
Not as like in-laws, no.
Yeah.
I haven't had to deal with in-laws.
Well, didn't your boyfriend have parents?
Well, yeah. But he wasn't out to them yet. It was kind of they knew, but it was hard for him to actually say it. And a lot of our relationship was long distance, so I didn't have a lot of contact with him. But he was getting to the point where he was, telling them, he was talking about me a lot and stuff. So it was a gradual process. But he had a brother that was gay, and so they didn't have a problem with it. It was just his own insecurity, really. Okay, I missed something. So you're laughing at something. All right. Well, I guess I'll be out of the joke for now. I'll find out later.
I missed it too.
I have I have no idea what's going on.
All right. Well, anyway.
Who's laughing?
I see something going on between these two at the top.
What?
Oh.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
But where was I? I was
just not acknowledging his family, not acknowledging who he was, his essence, his self, his whole personhood, and then you're having to pretend or act as if, or I don't know, or just it just goes unsaid. It just goes unacknowledged.
Yeah,
and that's just a weird place. That's a difficult place because, I mean, if you care about you care about their family as well. If you have even if it's a boyfriend or yeah.
Can I ask you, Brandon? Did you have contact with them after he left?
Yeah.
And was there reconciliatory? Yes, he was, and yes, I loved him.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to his mom and to his sister and his brother, and I didn't maintain contact a lot. I still sent his mom flowers on his birthday for a few years after. And
that's sweet, Brandon.
That's really
well. I mean, that's not performative. That's raw feeling. That's not actually people pleasing.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't put it in that category either. I thought it was something that he would be happy that I did. So
yeah, it's honoring him and expressing your feelings, and yeah.
I mean, those are normal feelings. Those are normal feelings. Tomorrow somebody will say something casually in some way. It's Saturday. I'll be out tomorrow doing something, going somewhere. And somebody will make some casual transphobic, homophobic comment, and I'll just ignore it.
God, I can't. I'm dealing. Well, we all are. If anyone had listened to or read the speech about the blatant everything, just the blatant Nazism in white Christian nationalism in that horrible rant. Did you guys listen or read any of the transcript?
Oh, I did.
I feel like I listened to it because I feel like I have to bear witness, and so I was walking. There's a group of people that walk, or sometimes we get together with like one or two people. Say, let's go to this green belt and walk. And there was a couple that drove to my house, and we walked my green belt today, and we were talking about why the Democrats lost the election in 2024. And the lady was convinced, it, well, what was it? Okay, so the whole like campaign with the paying for the prisoner with the trans surgery, and Kamala showing her weird, her not her weird, they made her look weird, like in this ad that ran on every sports event in Southern California. My sister said, because I mean she watches, like her husband watches golf and football, and any it was just everywhere. That, do you guys know, did you see that commercial in your part of the world? Okay,
It doesn't sound familiar.
so
Yeah,
it was, yeah, and they were playing it over and over. I mean, I saw it a few times. Kamala's paying for healthcare. Well, they didn't call it healthcare for a transgender prisoner to get transgender surgery, and you're not getting anything or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the whole. I'd have to look up the ad, but
that whole like trans surgery prison bullshit narrative.
Yeah, and anyway, long story. Yeah, it's so bad, and it's like the what was the one with I had to look it up with God, why can't I remember? Not. He put the helmet on and rode around in the tank, and that screwed his, like, the visual looked really bad. The guy who ran for president, and he lost, they're saying, because he wasn't the right image or whatever. Why can't I think of his name? Like weird, one little thing can screw your whole campaign. And they're going after like Katie Porter for yelling at her aide. Did you guys see that video? Okay. Anyway, they try to sideline. They pick one thing, the opposition, and they drill it in. And the thing with the transgender aspect. Okay, so the bad thing, the thing that came out when I was walking with this couple, and I said, yeah, and I think that convinced a lot of people, because they fear their own sexuality, and it's like working on a deeper level of other people getting benefits and you're not. And she said, well, it was, yeah, with the gays and the transgender, that's why we lost the election. And I was like, well, I think it was more complicated than that. But going after a small percentage and the most vulnerable, and and then you bring in the whole, like, oh God, Gavin Newsom, when he talked to Charlie Kirk and was kind of half agreeing with him. Remember that interview? And it's freaking me out, because if we, it starts there, and they just keep coming after the next vulnerable and the next vulnerable, and people are like, I don't know. But then I was like trying to be all people pleasing towards this friend of mine as we're walking. I mean, is that considered fawning behavior, when you just kind of let it go, and
basically
keep
the
peace?
the fawning condition is anything that you do to placate other people in their behaviors.
Yeah, and that's what
people mistreat you, and your response to that is, "Oh, you're just upset. You're upset. I get it. I'm not going to get upset back at you." Or I
get flabbergasted, and I can't. I don't know what to say. And I just like, Yeah. So
I mean, I role play here. If we're in a public setting and we're in a restaurant, say all four of us are in a restaurant. Sarah, who gets to order first?
Not me.
Why is it always the gay guy?
Well, that's how it is, isn't it? Isn't
wait,
it?
but I'm the oldest, right?
No, like the woman's
Yes.
supposed to go first. So
Oh,
at the
yeah,
very
yeah,
least-
yeah. Okay.
At the very least, it's between Eileen and I. But then, if the waiter looks at me and says, "Sir, what would you like to drink?" If I don't say anything, are you going to say something? Either of you.
Well, yeah. We'd address you properly and ask you the question again.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. You know,
Right,
Wendy,
yeah.
what would you like? Yeah.
You know, she would probably like it if you, but sensibly. You know, but in the same capacity, if we were out and Brandon was with a guy and, you know, a waiter says, "Well, what does your friend want?" That's his boyfriend, bitch. You need to recognize that. That's his date. Shut the fuck up. You know? I mean, but the fawning protocol, the fawning condition is
Yeah.
you just don't say anything. You enable that person to behave that way.
And then what I said to this person, I said, well, I think it's a lot more complicated than that. You know, the gays and the trans issue didn't lose. We didn't lose. She wanted to place full blame on that issue. And, ugh.
But that's the issue is that it is not that simple.
That it's not what?
It's not that simple.
No,
It isn't.
no.
Here's what I know.
Okay.
The fawn response exists within us when we were closeted, when we were in denial, when we, you know, whatever other condition, when we needed to because it protected us. But survival is definitely not the same thing as living. We're not required to perform digestibility just to justify existence. Nobody should do that. I don't care if you're fucking straight. I don't care if you're queer. I don't care if you're trans. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're black, blue, red, hung, or hurts. But we're not responsible for managing other people's discomfort with who we are, our transness, our queerness, our gayness, whatever. We're not obligated to shrink ourselves into shapes that fit into their narratives, because that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And the work isn't about not fawning again, because there's capacities where you'd be able to do that. The work is about recognizing when we're fawning out of genuine danger assessment versus just fucking programming. It's about slowly, carefully, methodically building lives where we need to do it less. You know? I mean, Sarah will laugh about it, but when she was here last week, we went to Friends on Ponds, which is a POC queer bar hangout in East Atlanta, and we came in, we sat down, the bartender walked over. "Hey girls," he was gayer than Brandon.
That bartender was great.
Yeah, he literally was gay. I'm sorry, Brandon. He was gayer than you are. And honeys, what do you want? And we're like, I mean, sorry to be crashing or whatever. He's like, well, the cold tempered. It's so cold outside. People aren't coming. So thanks for coming or whatever. And he was super friendly the whole fucking time. And it's in a space like that. You don't care about walking around a pool table and shaking your ass and making comments and shit at people and walking over to the bartender, honey, can you give me another drink? I need more. You know, that's not performative. That's just
being yourself. God dang it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's about finding people and spaces where our full unedited selves are not just tolerated but celebrated. You know, of course, you know, I was behaving rather sluttily that night.
You had a lot to drink.
I was definitely the life of the party.
How fun.
Oh, yeah, Eileen, you would have had a blast. You would have had a total blast.
Yeah.
See, and Nikki says that space doesn't exist for her, but it should. It really should. Brandon, I have to tell you, I was looking the other day. Like, there really aren't gay establishments in Kansas City.
You said there are or aren't?
There are not.
Oh, yeah. There are a few drag bars, but
like I found Missy's.
Yeah, Missy B's, yeah.
Missy B's, Woody's, KC.
Yeah.
The Spot nightclub and Gail's Public House. But I don't even think Gail's Public House is really a queer establishment.
Well, it just they used to have drag nights, and just recently they said they weren't going to do that anymore, and it was turning into just a sports bar. But there's also Hamburger Mary's, which is a drag bar. But yeah, Gail's, it's I believe it's queer owned, which makes it even worse. I think that they have stopped having so many drag shows. I don't know if they've completely cut it out, but yeah, that's an issue I just learned about recently. It's kind of sad. But
I mean, I've heard people talk about June's nightclub. But that's like one of those 2-drink minimum places.
Oh. Well, you were saying finding those spaces, and that is a good way to build your confidence. But I think one of the goals to overcoming people pleasing is to build up your self-esteem and love yourself more, or at least as much as other people. Because when you people please, you are kind of putting their needs and looking at them as if they're more important than you are, because you're pleasing them at the cost of your own happiness. But if you actually looked at yourself, if you had more self-love and believe you were worth more, I think that would cut down on a lot of the people pleasing, because you love yourself enough to please yourself more than you're trying to please everyone around you.
And speak your truth. Uh,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like I said, when you go into a queer space, when you go into a space like the sanctuary, by the way,
Yeah.
I've said this before. If they hit the lottery for a bunch of money, I'm literally opening a coffee house bar and I'm calling it the sanctuary. And I'm literally going to find a gay, queer, female to male, trans guy named Miguel, and he's going to be the bartender. That's all there's going to be to it. You know, because yeah, you should have that space. That space should exist. You know, it should exist, and it should, you know, it should be there for the people that need it. The problem is that in smaller towns, it doesn't.
Hmm.
I mean, once you get outside of, you know,
Urban areas.
once you hit Independence, Missouri, outside of KC, that's it.
But even if it doesn't exist, I mean, because you can't change, you know, you may not be able to change logistics or change your environment necessarily. You may not be able to create those spaces, but you can change yourself and accept yourself and go out into any space and be okay and not have to people please. Yeah, you're still going to get the negative comments or whatever, but if you can get to a place where you have enough self-love, self-confidence that you can, you know, live the way you want and not have to worry about pleasing the public or your family or anything else. And of course I'm kind of preaching to like I have to work on this myself. I'm not like I'm not I'm trying not, I'm not acting like I'm an expert in this, because I'm definitely not. I'm telling this to myself as well. But
I mean, my question, Brandon, I'm just going to ask you, why haven't you moved into Old Hyde Park yet? Because that looks to be like where all the fun shit happens.
I've heard some about that.
I mean, look, I'm doing it. I mean, we live in East Atlanta, and it's a pretty queer-friendly neighborhood. But you know, going into February, March of next year, I'm moving in very close proximity to the city of Decatur in Atlanta. And the city of Decatur in Atlanta has the highest population of sapphically inclined individuals than virtually anywhere in the city. I guarantee you, when I get on the train at Decatur station to go to work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, there's easily between 10 and 15 lesbians waiting to get on the train to go to work. Like every fucking time. You know, so it's all about location and where you live and shit. So if you can pull it off, then you should do it, because you want to be around the people who are gonna support you and the people who are gonna cause you not to people please other people just for you to get by. You know, tonight something will happen, tomorrow something else will happen, but maybe, you know, you'll find one moment that you choose for yourself to let someone else sit with their own discomfort instead of managing it for them. Because it's not your responsibility to manage people's uncomfortability with who you are. It isn't. Give yourself permission to do that. One truth at a time, one boundary at a time, one moment of deliberate terrifying authenticity, make somebody gasp. Who gives a shit?
Hmm.
You know, it's like going into a room full of Trumpers and saying, "I'd suck Biden's dick." Sure. Problem with that is, though, you do that, and probably half the Republicans in that room would say, "I would too."
Well, and it's like in that walk we were they both of the husband and wife, they were, and they never had kids, and they're older, and they said, "Oh, I don't agree with hormone replacement or blockers, puberty blockers. Like you shouldn't do that to kids until they're 18." And then I came back when I'm like, I'm going to talk about this. It prevents suicide in these kids, and we don't want the government making these decisions. We want to leave it to the doctors. And and I just spoke it out. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep saying what I know, what's good, and what's helpful, and not what's mean and hurtful. And it was just rough. It was rough. Like I keep like having these, acquaintances and friends, and they fucking say shit, and I'm like, fuck, I've lost somebody else now. Or do I accept where they're at and try to be the person that they can learn from? And damn it.
I mean, I've stopped letting my mother-in-law walk all over the Palestine issue. She keeps saying that, like, we've been going back and forth on that for a couple of years now. And every time she'd get on the phone and she'd say something, and it's like, well, how can you support that if you claim to be this? And she'd be like, oh, it's just too complicated. I'm like, what's complicated about kids getting killed? Like, they would get to the point where we were almost in shouting matches over the phone.
I mean, a fucking accountability. Fucking accountability. Can I just say that?
And
why is this so hard?
And I can't understand how she can support Trump when, her niece is half Latino and her grandkids are Latino and Black. Or not grandkids, her great nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
But, like, same thing with her sister. That would be her daughter and her grandkids. And they both are Trump supporters. And, like, that's like the big thing about them that just blows my mind. Like, how can you rationalize that? But I don't bite my tongue about it anymore. If they want to bring it up, they're going to get my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
This is also why I'm driving myself to Christmas.
As well you should.
Yeah.
I think I've come to a realization. It's not so much that I'm intentionally trying to make people uncomfortable. It's that I'm intentionally not putting their comfort first.
Because why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you? When I go out in a dress, I don't do it for anybody but myself. The very funny part is, it doesn't matter what fucking comments I get on the train going to work, or I get on the train coming home from work. When I go into the office, I guarantee you, 3, if not more, of my coworkers are going to come up to me and go, "I like what you wore today, and you look cute in it, and you should keep doing it." And you tell them, like, "Well, I was on the train today." Don't listen to those people. Don't listen to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Because just don't fucking listen to those people. It's stupid. It's stupid and it's dumb. So, Brandon, do you have anything to close with?
I don't know. I mean, I've said pretty much how I felt about it, I guess. I think I people please a lot less than I ever used to, and I think that's because I've built more confidence.
I certainly agree. I certainly agree.
So
I'm
love
much
yourself more.
Yeah, I'm much less a people pleaser than I was in my life. Sarah,
I can say that I can see the difference like night and day from what I was doing at the beginning of the year or this time last year to now. Are there still aspects where I am still performing the people pleasing? Sure. You can't break all the habits all at once.
no.
Yeah.
But I'm gradually identifying where it's happening and doing what I can to set the boundaries so that it doesn't keep happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. So, Eileen, final thoughts? You
Well,
came in.
Yeah,
You came in midway, so
I had to go no contact with my ex. And I make decisions often where am I going to pay half or am I going to pay like the 2 co-pays for my daughter's emergency room visit when she thought she had a bladder infection when she was out in Houston, or am I going to initiate a text or try to call and get 50% of that, even though she's over 18 now. But like, I mean, for the longest time we were splitting the girls' extra medical expenses, because they can't afford stuff yet. One's still in college, one doesn't have a full-time job yet. And a lot of times I'll just pay if it's less than $100, I just pay it for my own sanity than to get hoovered into this conversation with him where he starts feeling like he can control the narrative and then he wants to talk about something else and like, well, if we're splitting this and we're that, and it's like, anyway, yeah. So no contact. Yeah. So that I don't have to fall into that weird role of being his source and having to listen to him, because that's like just giving him any ounce of my presence or existence is placating him or filling that weird narcissistic need of him trying to take control of whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's this person, this amount of this bill, or it doesn't matter what it is. It's like any contact, like there's no other role than to be the source, to be the fawn, to be the target or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah. So
It's
no
about
contact.
creating boundaries, it sounds like. I mean,
Yeah. Which is, so you're not being the weak one. Now with my sister, I don't know. I feel like I can't speak my mind about political stuff, or that I don't like Bill Maher, or what my daughters are up to, and then she'll come back and it's like I'm the younger sibling, and that's never gonna, I don't know, that's messed up, but that's a whole other conversation.
It's interesting to see
Bill
that
Maher is
difference
a
in perspective.
I don't care what anyone says. Bill Maher is a fucking dickhead. I hate
Everyone they like to bring up that, he worked for animals, the ASPCA, he donated a lot of money for animals, but
him.
and he always likes to, make fun of those younger kids, they don't know what it means to work hard, and they're these millennials and blah blah blah. I'm like, that's not funny. There are no fucking jobs, dude. Like, you can't deliver newspapers and work at the five and dime and have a life. Like, what the fuck? I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I understand. Just we're over the hour, so try again on Monday, Brandon.
Monday.
Yeah, what do you have scheduled for Monday?
I've got one pretty much every day, almost.
I'm not going to be available Monday. I've got work lunch Monday and Tuesday.
Lunch. You have lunch.
Sure.
I've got one at noon on Monday, but
Okay, wait. We could go 1:30 or 2 to break it up if you want.
Are you talking Central, Brandon?
No,
Oh.
Eastern time.
I'm talking Central. Noon
Yeah.
Central.
Okay, so you have one at 12 Central.
Yes.
Okay, we can go at 2. We can go at 2 Eastern if you want to do it. That's 1 Central. If you don't mind doing it back to back.
No, I'll just maybe just a little bit late or something, but
I might be back by then. We'll see. Our lunch is at 11, so.
What date? Oh, I picked up a reserve block. I don't know if I'm coming or going on Monday. I thought they were going to offer daily release time, but now I'm on the hook for a 3-day block of reserve starting tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. my time. Help me. So, but if I'm around, I'll pop in.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is going on over here, and it's weird. Okay. All right. Brandon, Eileen, Sarah, thank you all very much. Thank you for all the people that were watching. By the way, Brandon, I have to tell you, I just went and looked. There's literally a $600 a month studio apartment in Hyde Park. I'd almost move there for that.
600 is a lot for me.
Are you? Is that a lot for the region, or is that just a lot?
No, that's a pretty good one for that area.
I mean, they're between 600 and 1,000. Like here in Atlanta, a one bedroom, 1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
But I wouldn't be able. I'd have to quit doing this job. I'd have to find a better paying job.
Mm.
Well, I mean, if I hit the lottery, and I open up the Sanctuary Bar, you're going to become my publicist. So, just going to tell you.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
as soon as you win it, let me know. But until then.
Oh no! I mean, just we're gonna work that out. I have a list. Of people. All right. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you. Thank you to all the viewers who are watching, and we'll be back on Monday.
Bye.